From the Peace Corps to a life coach? What?
Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I'm your host, Brett Dupree, scouring the globe to bring you stories of courage, passion, and resilience. If I could sum up this podcast into one word, I would use empathy. Now let's get inspired. Welcome to the Joyous Expansion Podcast, episode 56. Wow, so many episodes, so little time. I am so proud of myself. Today I have an interview with a wonderful Jennifer Covington, and that was a great conversation, talking a lot about blackness and what it means to be black, which is something that me being a black guy, I can relate to. And then how she started her business and is running with it and taking things to the next level by dealing with one of her biggest fears, which is public speaking, and a fear that I worked on. And yeah, but now it's a part of my interview where I am vulnerable about my life, because if I can't expect people to be vulnerable, if I can't be vulnerable, how can I expect my guests to be vulnerable as well? It is a new year, new decade, and all that fun jazz. And one thing I've been thinking about lately are my mental blocks and how they format in my mind and how they work. I know I have a mental block to success. And a lot of times I even have a mental block to success if it's not the success that I'm looking for, and how that works. Or my mental block, I have a lot of them when it comes to my weight. I think I mentioned my podcast. I remember 2 years ago when I got down to 334 and just hit a block. And I just remember looking at the scale and just being filled with fear and anxiety that I reached this goal. And I was feeling great, but then after that, I plateaued and then gained all my weight back. And right now I have a mental block at 400. When I'm around there, it's hard for me to continue. And I've been stuck at that for almost a year now, of around 400 to 420. I'd get to my worst, but then I get down to the low 400s, which is what I am now, which is a lot of weight. And with both my knees in so much pain, it would be so good for me to lose that weight. I would feel so much better, have so much more energy and everything, but something about saying that 400 just makes me want to eat more. And so I've been thinking about that aspect of the mental block. Is it because of something that happened a while ago or is it just something in my mind that happened not too long ago? Maybe it does have something to do with my uncle's death that as I talked about it, I don't think I ever truly actually tried to process. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why I eat is so I don't feel. And when your stomach is full of food, you don't really feel emotions. And that is a way that I stuff my feelings, is by stuffing my face. I know that. And plus, yes, I know I've been doing a lot of research on the machinations of weight and what your body does, and the fact that one of the body's defenses when you are losing weight is depression, to make you feel sad, so you eat more, because losing weight means you're starving, at least to the body. Once somebody told me that my body wants to be healthy, but that's kind of true. I mean, your body wants to stay alive. That's its number one goal, but it also wants equilibrium. The reason why I'm fat is my body thinks I need to be this fat, and I need to convince it does not need to be this fat for me to do that, and a lot of that is, for me, mental. And I don't know why I have that mental block. It is interesting to me, however, it's there. And dealing with that. So I'm really been doing that. I've been doing this HMR program, and I haven't been doing it that well. They have these days called in the box, where you don't go outside of it, and you're supposed to do every day in the box. And I think the best I've ever done is 5 days. I think I've done that once. The rest of the days have been 4 days. Been on it for like 5 or 6 weeks, and I think I've averaged 4 days in the box. And part of it is it's a meal replacement plan. The food's not very super tasty, so that doesn't help, and I just want my tasty foods and treats and stuff that I like. But at the same time, I am paying money for this food. I'm supposed to drink like 3 shakes a day, and I am very behind in my shakes, as I have at least 2 weeks worth of shakes saved up. So next 2 weeks, starting tomorrow, I'm going to start doubling up on my shakes to help me stay within the box and do that and really work on my mental blocks. So feeling those feelings and trying to discern what about reaching my goals is holding me back. What about reaching my goals is not working for me? And we'll just leave it at that for now, because we have a wonderful conversation with Jennifer Covington. Jennifer has the pleasure of working with Fortune 500 giants like Anheuser-Busch, MGM Studios, and 20th Century Fox, and spent 3 years in Ecuador teaching small business development to poverty-stricken single mothers and orphaned youth as a means of livelihood and sustainability. From these experiences, Jennifer has learned what it takes, no matter who you are, to create, build, and run a freedom-based business from the ground up. Her genius lies in her ability to help you turn your passions into profit so you can make the positive impact you were made to make in the world. And now here's my interview with Jennifer Covington. Hello, Jennifer, and welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me.
I met you at the Rise
Live event.
Yes, Rise Live. I don't know why I had a little brain freeze.
I mean, yeah, it was a really cool event. And I mean, trying to recover after it, I feel like we got so much, connected so much. It was really good energy, so I could totally understand. I feel like I'm just now recovering.
Yes, your energy was very bright. How about you tell the audience a little bit about you?
I'm a life coach and business strategist, and I was actually at the Rise because it teaches you how to speak. In my work, I'm asking people to overcome their fears and call out their dreams and do what they got to do to really make their dreams come true. I'm at the Rise because one of my biggest fears for sure is speaking. That's me walking my talk and getting training in that and getting support and mentorship in that. That's what I do. I help people overcome their fears and realize their dreams. And I'm doing the same every day in my own life.
That is so cool. One thing I notice about people who go into life coaching is, generally speaking, they have a backstory of how they got into it. So can you tell us a little bit about your background? Who is
Yeah, well, that's a big question. I think the heart of what you're asking, because there's so many ways that can go, but really where I got fired up with making it part of my life mission of helping people realize their dreams is there's this undercurrent of, I believe in you, even if no one else believes in you, because I've definitely had that historically of being told you're not enough, you're not going to be enough, you won't amount to much. Specifically for me, it comes in the form of being a Black woman in America, basically, and really from people who love me and who raised me, the message was you've got to be 150% better, quoting fingers better, just to amount to maybe equal on a good day, which, you know, on your like squishy 5-year-old brain and on, that is some heavy programming. Since I feel like now that I know in my work, most people deal with a not enoughness. That is definitely my brand of it. Also coming from a really strong lineage of women, especially who really dogmatic workers and prove themselves through their work ethic, which is another, what do I even call it? I'll just say thing that I'm overcoming every day of living as a human being and not a human doing. And so just proving one's worth through merit and through accomplishments. And so that is a through line that I have with my clients as well. And so it's always being diligent and creating balance and working on that mindset and messaging of you are enough. And what I have found now is even drawing resilience and drawing strength from the thing that I was told was my weakness and why I would never be enough. It's actually why I absolutely am inherently enough. That's really the work I do and why I care about it so much.
So you said your weakness, were people telling you your weakness was because you're a Black woman, or are there other weaknesses as well?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have other weaknesses, but that being told that when I grew up, I was usually the only. And so being, you know, the only person of color for miles around and, you know, just having the experience of people petting me because my hair is so exotic and different, or jokes about my skin color. And again, which is one thing, but then also getting messages from people that love you that you have to be better. There's no room for mistakes, that kind of thing. But what I have found is actually my lineage is quite strong. Or thing about systemic racism is that in America, there was slavery, which was terrible, horrible, absolutely. And those who survived are my ancestors. And so actually who I am in America is actually a very powerful, a very resilient, it's in my DNA. I've been chosen. I have overcome just by being able to be here, which is also, I feel the responsibility on the days where it feels hard or, I'm not feeling worthy. I also am driven just by the fact that standing on my ancestors' shoulders, that they sacrificed so that I would be able to be sitting in a little cush booth on a podcast where they could have never imagined such a thing. It's actually where I draw my strength from, where it used to be something that I felt I had to hide or overcome or prove myself. It's actually now where I draw confidence.
Before you came to that realization, how did your life look? How did you react to the world?
It definitely goes back to, I feel, school days is what I think of. Well, the first experience was being the only, and sticking out and being treated as other and exotic and just sometimes not human. And then as I moved through life, even finding discrimination within my peers or people from the same cultural background as myself, which would also be a different level of disheartening for me as well. And then that enoughness came from, I'm from Missouri, but people used to say I talk like a Valley girl, which I was like, what's that? Then I moved to LA later and there's the Valley. And so then I learned what a Valley girl was. That form of not enoughness came from chocolate skin. It was like, I just said like a lot. I talk like a Valley girl, but I'm a Black girl. And so it was like, you're not Black enough and you're certainly not white. And so then that became a thing in junior high that was super painful. And so that's what that looked like. And that's what I think about when I think of where did you come from or what made you this way. It's in those moments that I also just feel like I drew upon who I am as a human, who I am as a person. And as that's the resiliency that kind of comes through still. I didn't know it at the time, but that everyone in junior high is insecure. And what became, I guess, quotey fingers attractive, or I guess energetically attractive, is when I got kind of solid in who I was, not because I was so smart or secure. It's just I really couldn't go to any side and really be anywhere and be good. And so I just had to be good within me. And I do think that again, came from messages I got at home of just, you're good enough, or it was really like, you have to be better. But sticking, with I'm smart and I'm a good person and I'm all these things, and just knowing who I was, it's actually attractive. And so I began to get allyship through that. And now I know as a grown up, it's like, oh, because you kind of landed on a semblance of security in yourself, which all junior high kids are very insecure. So that became attractive. And I began to get friends and support that way. Still never feeling okay until way later, probably in college, actually.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I remember I was in junior high and high school, I always thought I was the only one. Funny things that I actually interviewed someone from my high school, and he talked about how he was depressed back then. And I had no idea.
Yeah, you just don't know until you're older. And I'm just always thankful, though, that I went to school then and not now with the internet and all that. I really have no idea how I would have navigated that sanely and safely,
My mom was 15. I would have been on YouTube.
Yeah, you would have been on YouTube.
Yeah, definitely.
I would not. I would have not been trying to show up. And so, even so, though, talk about DNA, those kinds of things, especially in junior high where people were getting jumped and all this kind of stuff, there is a fear response I have. And that circles back to speaking, which is kind of interesting because we met at a speaking conference. That is what I go through when I have to stand up and be in front and be seen. I feel physically threatened, or that is the fear response that happens. And it really does go back to those kinds of times where people would want to beat me up because I said like too many times in a sentence, and just be you are. And then that being told you're not okay and that you could be in physical harm just because of that. That is what I experience with speaking. And so daring to stand in front of the room, but then at the same time, dealing with the responsibility and the drive and the passion I have to help and be a beacon. That is that's just welcome to my Wednesday. Like that is the constant conflict I'm always in, where you need to step up, you need to show up, and being terrified on a core level that dates back to just me in my childhood. That's what I'm overcoming every day.
So you mentioned that you didn't really start getting over it until college. What happened in college that allowed you to move towards just, I guess, the light, if you will?
I feel like I don't know. I'm just like thinking about it now, but I think it was just, and this is what I say for all things, if you want something to find the evidence of the thing. And so I just think without knowing, I had compiled enough evidence of my okayness, and especially knowing that it starts with me. I have to be okay with me first. And so I just think by the time I graduated and seeing, because another layer again is growing up in a tense household, and I'm the youngest. And just a very tense family, nuclear family and extended family. So the way that manifested is being able to read energies and watch people, and kind of from a survival standpoint of being able to know like who's going to blow up, who walking on eggshells. And so by that time, which also makes me intuitive in my work now, but again, it's coming from a survival place back in the day, studying that kind of thing for my survival, just noting like, this is the most popular girl in school, or she's the tough one, but we become friends when we're in class together because she's insecure too. And so just having several stories of that by the time I graduated high school, there was just a level of getting it and kind of observing and seeing what it was. And then also being able to leave a household that was very strict, and I just had to move. I could barely move in certain ways. And so I felt it was very freeing to go to college, because then I really got to just explore who I was, just got to be able to blossom into my own person. Like none of it was planned, it's just taking it day by day and always being drawn to, I talk about the light, like being drawn towards the light, or always being solution oriented and kind of figuring out where is the joy and peace amongst everything that's going on. Long-winded answer.
So what got you interested in joining the Peace Corps?
I don't know the first time I knew about the Peace Corps, but it is so what I wanted. The joke was that I wanted to sing Kumbaya under a tree with the children of the world, just having that idealistic point of view. It's just one of my through lines is kind of the positivity, optimism, which is very irritating for people. So again, could be a superpower, and it's also an Achilles heel, but that's just how I'm wired. Learning that you could travel and volunteer. I've always grown up volunteering my time various ways. And so that was the ultimate, because you could travel, you could leave and really immerse yourself in a project and help people, which is what I thought it was you going and helping, when really it's you going and the people helping you. It was just always something I wanted to do, and I knew I'd do it after college, or I would do it as an empty nester, but I ended up doing it in the middle of a career. I always knew I'd want to do it. It just fit all my ethos to a T.
So how exactly did joining the Peace Corps change you to the point you wanted to be a life coach?
It was just meaningful work. First, like I was saying, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm going to go help those people, any people, because you don't even get to choose where you go. And I was just like, I just want to be in service. But what really, truly happens is there's people who, yes, there's a project and sure could use some support, but really you're going somewhere, you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, and culture is such a subtle, nuanced thing that you are really, the women, I worked with a women's group, I couldn't figure out like, why are we so close, or why is the love so deep? But it's basically like they raised me from being a baby, because I didn't know where I was. I didn't speak the language, and they took me in, and I was doing business development and life skills, but that's just one piece, just one person in the group that's doing this one little thing. But they were feeding me and housing me in a way and protecting me, very violent and poor area that we were working in. I just always feel like they raised me in that short amount of time. I turned 30 there. You're so vulnerable. It's like the gag is that they're helping you. It was total character development for me. It was absolutely life-changing. But I worked with this women's group, an Afro-Ecuadorian women's group, and then I also worked at an orphanage. And so the work was just so meaningful. The women's group were building small businesses around their poor neighborhood to bring commerce, to be able to give free lunches, to have a place where women could take their kids so they could go into the bigger city and get real work. And so it was just incredible, the leadership that they were showing. And then at orphanage, I worked really closely with the teens who didn't have another option other than, usually it was a life of crime, just because they didn't have families and they didn't have the options. And so just teaching how to do small business as a way of livelihood. So going to that after leaving a corporate position where I was feeling like a cog in a machine, it was such purpose-filled work, which is all I ever wanted. And it just unlocked something in me where I was committed to always doing work that mattered and meant something. And that translated for me, I was certified as a life coach, but that translated to me as if I could help other business owners. And then it turned into women were the ones who usually came to me, even though I still work with men as well. If I could work with people like me, then we could then go out and create that ripple effect of change in the world. And that's what I got lit up about. And that has been my path ever since. And that's just that, ideology of I am optimistic and positive, and it's sometimes grating and irritating, but it's just how I'm wired. And that's what I strive for.
How was it like leaving your corporate job and joining your own entrepreneur?
A breeze. Oh, that wasn't a breeze. I was like, it was fine leaving. No problem at all. I think that what I didn't know was a good thing a little bit, just because, again, I was so idealistic. It was just about the vision. So I was excited. As I was there, my then boyfriend came and stayed for some time. And so that's where our love blossomed as well. And so we were like, okay, well, we're going to move together. And I was living in LA and he was living in San Diego. So we're like, well, where are we going to live? So we came to the Bay. So I was also just starting up my life in a new city, just cohabitating. It was so much new. But again, I always draw on that Peace Corps experience because nothing was newer than that. And so, I was full of passion. And so I think the hard stuff wasn't as difficult at first because I was like, I'm just full of passion. I had been doing live coaching on the side before the Peace Corps. And when you go full time in anything, you just add on hours. So instead of coaching 20 hours, I'll coach 40 hours. But what I didn't know is you're the CEO and janitor and marketer and salesperson and everything, the graphic designer. And so that was the part that I didn't realize. And so I just learned being fueled by passion at first. And then I have a knack for some of those things. I was in marketing and sales in corporate, and I'm Capricorn, sun and moon. And so I'm very practical and make plans. And so I can see visions. I can understand your vision, but then I get very practical and can see the steps that lead there. And so what I found was with my very woo life coaches and healers colleagues, they were very visionary, bigger thinkers than me, but they could not bring it down to earth. And so that became, people were like, I will pay you for this. And so that's how I started doing business coaching and always training or getting trained and learning more about the business side of a coaching business. And that's really where that began. And then I was like, okay, I'll just go all the way business, but the life part is always there because usually the heart-centered, holistic folks, like it's not just about selling a jar of peanut butter, you're really putting your heart into it. And if you're feeling like your marriage isn't working or your self-esteem is low or you're dealing with that not enoughness mindset, then there is the life coaching part along with just business strategies and spreadsheets. That's become my sweet spot of where I play.
Super fun. So what got you into desiring to actually speak then?
Just always came up as the number one fear. Also, I felt called to it. And so while it would be great to just be like, nope, I'm scared of that, so I'm not going to do it, I just know better that it's again, in my work, I'm asking people to overcome that all the time. And B, I know that on the other side of that fear, that is where the breakthrough is, or that's where the gift is, or there's a reason you're called to it. It's just the next thing. And it's the scariest thing because I do have that DNA response. Oh my gosh, I'm not safe. And so it's just the thing that I'm overcoming. And I know how much representation has mattered to me. Just seeing Lisa Nichols or Michelle Obama, even seeing them has made the difference. And so I also feel called to show up and stand up in a room that way too, because I've been told as well that has made a difference in people's lives. And even though it feels scary, so I have my own personal journey of being interested in overcoming or moving through that. And I know that it makes a difference and I'm interested in making a difference that way. So answering the call for that reason as well.
That's beautiful.
And it's great marketing. I do really believe in authentic marketing, and there's something about me speaking. I always say that your marketing plan should be, whatever you're already gifted in. And so while I can hone the craft, I clearly, as your bleeding ears may tell, I'm a talker. It's like, figure that out. Figure out how you're going to make that work for you, because you already have a propensity to be that way. And that's what I think everyone should do. If you're shy, maybe, hone your craft for writing or one-on-one connections. But speaking is that calling. And so just figuring out how to overcome it, and then also hone the craft in a professional way, I guess, as well.
Well, it's a good thing you are a talker, because if you weren't, it makes the podcast much harder.
Well, good. Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most about your business?
It is the breakthroughs. It is I do like being the wind beneath my clients' wings. And so again, I'd rather be in the background, right? But you do have to show up so people know they can hire you. But I love what the people I support are up to. And then when they put out in the world, where it was just a dream one day, and now it's brought into fruition and it matters and it's important, that is super rewarding. And I'm obsessed with it. So that's the best part. Is being like too positive and optimistic annoying? A little?
Not at all.
Oh, okay.
You have when I emailed me back, it was from your client success team. And you were talking about earlier how you have to be everything to be an entrepreneur. How was it giving up parts of it to hire somebody to do it for you?
Oh gosh. Okay. So this is part 2 of the whole podcast, because it is a deep that is a deep question as well. It is still a struggle for sure. And it's been the best thing ever, because I can do a lot. I will do a lot. Again, I get a satisfaction and even a worthiness from completing a thing. As sad as that can sound, I'm working on it. That's true. That's true for me. And so it was hard to hand things off. I just couldn't. I just was finding that I'm interested in balance. I'm interested in sanity. I'm interested in play and fun and connecting with my friends and my family and my partner. And so even though there's a part of me that would love to work all weekend and check boxes off, that's not my evolved side. That's not the most evolved version of me. And so getting support, being able to hire someone who's also, that's giving them a job, has been life-changing. And so I actually hired a VA and then found I wasn't a great manager, because I know how I work. And it's like, oh, if you just give a task, right, they'll do it and you can trust that. But people need guidance. People need some managing. It's your idea and your thought. So I actually have an online business manager and a virtual assistant and a tech goddess who helps. It's super helpful. They all know that I have an issue, a control issue. So they're very gentle and great and know to tell me hey, you're standing in my kitchen kind of thing. That's my thing. I'm not even really supposed to be in that inbox all that much, but I am. Yeah, but it's such a relief, even just when I get an alert and I can tell someone's picked something up out of Dropbox. I did a group call tonight. And so usually I would then download it, upload it into Dropbox, name it, all that kind of stuff. Now I just record it. Now I'm hopping on this with you. And then tomorrow I know that my VA knows what to do. And when I get to see the little alert that shows she's working on it, it feels like getting a hug to me. It's like, oh, someone else is doing this with me. And it actually feels great. And I'm still limping along. I'm not the best at it. But when you find people who are on the same mission as you, and it's they're better at it than you and they have an expertise, it's another cool practice of, hey, don't draw your worthiness from checking off a task. No, you're worthy because you're a human being and that's all you've got to be. And so it's just part of my evolution as a human.
Congratulations. That's really cool.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what is it like working with you?
It's a dream come true. It is a dream on one hand. I know that I can be intense when it comes to your dreams. And so I have one client who's always joked, don't say your dreams in front of Jennifer, because she gets kind of serious about it. And I do, just because I want it so bad for you. And I do feel like we all have that thing inside us that was implanted. And when you're called to it, there's a reason. And even selfishly, I feel like you have to realize it so that we all can benefit, because the world will benefit from it. There's some tough love. There's some just holding you to what your highest desire. I know that people, even in the beginning, hired me, even though I like to think I'm so smart, but really because they could see my belief in them. And it's like, oh, wow, she really believes in me and can see it. And so from what I'm told, and it's true, I do see it, having someone in your corner believe in you. And again, when most of us have that programming from somewhere that says we're not enough and that the world is telling us we can't and piling up all of this evidence as to why we can't. So I'm in your corner. I have your back, even when you wish I wouldn't, and holding you to your highest calling, basically, and how to get paid to do it. So that's also a great part, and how to be authentic and show up and have fun while we work on doing that in a balanced way. So it's just having someone in your corner, even if you never have before, which is the case for some of my clients.
Oh, yeah. Authentically paid with lots of fun. That sounds great.
It's great, but it's not easy all the time. It's hard work. You get why everyone doesn't do it, because that's the other part. Make your dreams come true sounds amazing. And then when you get in it, it's confronting. You have to show up and not everybody gets it and you don't feel worthy. There's so much that goes into it, which is the work I'm super excited to do. And that's why I'm always doing it on myself as well. Or I have mentors and support calling me up and calling me out as well. It's not an easy journey, right? It's the personal development class of the world is starting and running your own business.
Do you have any fun success stories that you like to share?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm just going to think of who was on the call today. Well, God, there's just so many, and there's so many things, because people will hire me multiple times where they achieve one thing and then another. But okay, so one woman who was just on a call, she's back for more, but her dream was to be featured on television, and she does style. So her thing was just fashion, feels shallow, but she definitely had a deeper meaning to her styling. And so uncovering that and also weaving that into her messaging, where it's really about confidence and, again, that enoughness. And so just from putting it out there, she would tag people in her post on Instagram and actually got a regular reoccurring appearance on her local TV network, which, again, she's then able to broadcast her message of enoughness and confidence through this vessel and through this channel of style. So that's just an example of kind of a creative entrepreneur who's also purpose driven. But I have another client who had a dream, or her vision was just women gathered in a room. Self-care is the thing. And so what we worked on is just, what does that look like? And again, how are you going to get paid to do that? And what we did is created a membership for her where people enter in, and their online component, very low cost, but then high volume. And every other weekend, she would hold these goddess gatherings, basically is what they were called. And where, she would get to talk about a topic, indulge these women, take care of them, nourish them, because that's not what they were getting in their lives. And just to see the pictures of her in the front and like her caftan and looking fabulous. And then all these women just glowing and smiling. And again, that is so cool, and that is my vision for the world. And so to see her bring that to fruition, but she's worked with me for years. So she's written books. She's gotten paid to be a speaker when she claimed what she wanted to do. Then dealing with the topic of infertility even. She got called to be the national ambassador for this big infertility nonprofit. And my secret to what I do too, when it comes to a calling that feels really amorphous and really like, what are you talking about? But people who get it, get it. And what I know is that if you're called to it, then there are invisible forces already at your back pushing you to it. You almost can't not have it. And so when I get people in my world, I can just give them the steps. Like I can just see it and then get really practical. But then if you're called and you're answering the call, it's going to manifest. It's going to show up. It's going to happen. And again, it's not easy. You're going to have to overcome things. But if you put one foot in front of the other, these things come into fruition. I've never had it not, so it works every time. I've never had a client, I tried, but Cody, like this didn't work. That just doesn't exist. It hasn't happened yet. I hope it never does, knock on wood.
Awesome. We are getting close to our end time. And one thing I like to ask my guest is to give a 1 minute of motivation. You can think of this as if you have a time machine and you go back in time to your 8-year-old self and you have to convey what you need to do to live a happy and joyful life. But unfortunately, you're popped back into the future after a minute. Or you can think of it as giving your entire life's message into a minute. So are you ready?
No. Okay. But the thing about time travel, it waits for no one. Okay, 8-year-old me, I'm ready. Well, the topic is enoughness. You are enough. You are a unique creation. There will never be another one like you. And we need your gifts. We need your magic so that the world can experience that unique gift that only you can put out into the world. And know that and trust that, and let the work be knowing what that is for you, and let the work be deepening into knowing you and what that means versus trying to conform or meld or be normal, because you will find that that's not going to work out for you anyway. The end.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast. One thing I liked about your story is how you started out having all this pressure to almost perfection, as well as being cut down a lot of your life because of who you are, but not because who you are on the outside instead of who you are on the inside. And once you're able to get out of that pressure cooker and notice that everyone else has the same fears, and that awareness allowed you to really step into who you are, and then going into the Peace Course and discovering the wonders of service and then taking that to a next level is extremely inspiring. So thank you so much for being on my podcast, and thank you so much for everything you do for this world.
Oh, thank you so much. And I appreciate your podcast and your Joyous expansion. And yeah, it was great meeting you and being on your podcast.
Awesome. May your day be special.
Thank you. Bye.
And there you have it, folks. That was my interview with Jennifer Covington. Wow. Wasn't that fun? I could really appreciate that she talked about the Black experience, though mine growing up was a little different, in the sense that my dad didn't talk about it a lot, but my grandpa did. He talked about it all the time. May he rest in peace. But he never said so much that I would have to work twice as harder, and that wasn't put into me. But at the same time, there is a difference in being a person of color in the United States, but it also can't be your excuse to not succeed, but has to be something you have to acknowledge and move forward. But that was just the beginning. I enjoyed how she talked about going through her own fears. It makes me wonder how this conversation would have gone if we didn't meet at an event just for, talking and getting your message out there. If probably wouldn't have gone there, we may not have talked about that aspect of her fears. But it's really cool when you see somebody who walks the talk and then does it, so that she is working on her fears while going forward. That's really cool. And going to the Peace Corps, it's very awesome. These interviews that I do really jazz me up and inspire me. They truly inspire me. Everything about this really does. It's very exciting to listen to somebody who's not only going at it, who's successful, who has a team, but they are also working on taking their stuff to the next level. And it's not always easy. It takes time and effort. And yeah, one thing I forgot to mention is you never know where it is going. I mean, this is episode 56 of my podcast, my 56th one. And I think I finally got what I should have named my podcast. I finally got the name that I think I wanted, and it made perfect sense, and it probably would have attracted the people and said everything better than going for Joyous expansion. I should have waited longer before naming it. But that's water under the bridge. I don't want to say it out loud because someone might take it. But at the same time, though, that's cool because you just never know what life is going to take you. And working with people like Jennifer Covington helps you get to where you want to go. So if you want to work with Jennifer Covington, and she has a fun, free, learn the 6 simple steps it takes to jumpstart your dream business in 90 days or less. How cool is that? So if you want to work with her, you can get that at jennifercovington.com. She spells Jennifer, Jennnifer, Covington, Covington.com. And that has been the Joyous Expansion Podcast. I am once again your catalyst of transformation, champion of authentic joy, Joyous Expansion Life Coach Brett Dupree. If you want to email me, you can email me at BRE2TsDUPR2Es at joyousexpansion.com. Also check out joyousexpansion.com for my free ebook. Also check out more episodes of pod.joyousexpansion.com. I have 55 more. If you're listening to this on any Stitcher or podcast things, leaving a like, subscribe, star it, whatever, leave a review. That helps more people get inspired to live the life of their dreams. So this is Brett Dupree saying once again, be love, be joy, be awesome. Now play my jingle.
JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com. Come and say hello to Brett Dupree. He is an inspirational life coach. Good for you and good for me. He turned my life from grey to blue. I'm sure he'll do the same for you. Get in touch and you'll see your life will change dramatically. JoyousExpansion.com. JoyousExpansion.com. Yeah.